It's question time again. Property question time on my YouTube channel, and we've had lots of questions. We've picked 3, I think, really good questions from people. We've had a load more and we'll probably use those later on. But before we get into the questions, I just want to tell you that I've got my property seminars coming up on the 5th and 6th of December at Watford. You can book at johnhowardproperty.com, and actually some of the questions I'm answering today are the sort of things I talk about in my seminars. Of course, I speak for 6 or 7 hours in my seminars, and we're just doing a few minutes now. So hope you enjoy and the answers that I'm giving are useful to you. That's such a relevant question at the moment. You know, buy-to-lets have been really good for so many investors over the last 10, 15, 20 years, really. Even when there's a recession, what you have to remember is that the property market on average has gone up 5% over the last 20 odd years. So, and that takes into the recession, which was 2009. So I wouldn't panic. If you've got a buy-to-let investment, do not panic about it all. I know Section 21's a pain in the backside, and our housing secretary, which is Michael Gove, seems to be absolutely against landlords and property developers like me as well, actually. But we can probably take it a bit better than we're used to people not liking us very much. So the buy-to-let investor, if you're coming to the end of your current deal, unfortunately, you're going to have to pay more interest, clearly. And that can be a problem, because where these investments were valued at 6.5% by the valuer, some of them now, especially if you've got more than one unit, and I mentioned this a while ago in a YouTube I did, now some of them are going to be valued at 8%, 8.5%, which actually, when I worked it out roughly, means you'll struggle to borrow more than 55, 60% of the open market value. If they value it as a investment at 8%, it really is it can be a bit of a problem. But some of these rates are just starting to come down a little bit from where they were a few weeks ago, especially on the 2-year rates. So shop around, don't panic. If you don't need to get it sorted for another year or so, I would definitely hang on a bit. I think the mini budget that we just had, not the disaster, the one we've just had, literally, with Jeremy Hunt, I think that steadied the market. So don't panic, shop around, but expect to obviously pay more interest, and just be a bit wary of the loan to value they'll give you based on the new rates, because they want 125% cover on the rent, don't forget. So there's a mixture of things, which probably means you're going to struggle to borrow a lot more than 60% of the value of their value. Now, their value may not be the same as your value. It very rarely is. So you've just really got to shop around and ask a few questions. How are they going to value it? Are they going to value on an open market value, i.e. you can get the tenant out and sell it open marketly, or are they going to value it more on an investment value, in which case that will probably be 8.5% at the moment. Good luck. This is a minefield. Someone looking to buy a care home. I mean, I buy care homes, vacant ones, by the way. The first thing you want to know is how long it's been vacant, how long it's been on the market for, because stupidly, as far as I'm concerned, the planners may want they may want it to be vacant and on the market for commercial purposes for up to 2 years, which is absolutely crazy, absolutely crazy. And I think the new housing minister, it's a lady, I can't remember her name, needs to get her act together on this, because it's stopping a lot of developments from happening quicker than us. You know, they should happen quickly, and it's taken them longer, because you may need to prove to the council that you've tried to let it or sell it on a commercial basis. So assuming that you've sorted that one out, and if it was originally a house and it's gone into a commercial care home, but was originally a house, or residential anyway, then you've got it's a much easier sell to them, the council, than if it was purpose-built. If it's purpose-built care home, you've got a problem, and they may make you wait the 2 years. So that's the first thing to sort out. Now, if you're buying a care home like that, I would always do a pre-application to the council. Pre-app, they should come back to you within 28 days of you putting your pre-application in. Your architect will do that for you, or your planning consultant. And when they do that, make sure that they make a good effort to it. Don't just sort of slap half a plan in. The one I did recently, which actually on my seminars I use as an example, we spent $5,500 on our pre-app. So, you know, put a decent pre-app in, because you'll get better, you'll get a much better answer, a much more detailed answer. Hopefully, yes, we accept this, you know, could be converted into flats or houses. Now, I always like to split vertically if I can, and make them houses rather than flats. But that's something your architect can have a look for you, and always ask them, you know, let's have some options here. Just ask them to do draft plans, not detailed plans, just a draft. Could be a sketch, just showing them what they would be like, how many flats can we get, if they're you know, if you're converting into flats, or how many houses can we get out of it, or is there a mixture? And I've done both over the years. So picking the right architect's obviously very important. Pre-app is super important. And also ask, you know, you've got to ask yourself, what is the market? Who's going to buy these, or who's going to rent them? Are they downsizers? Are they dinkies, which is double income and no kids? Are they first-time buyers? Are they buy-to-let investors? Good luck with that now, because most of them have got to find at least 40% deposit, if not more. So you want to know who your market is. Where is it? Talk to an agent or two, estate agent. Ask them their advice. It's free. Don't always take it, but certainly listen to what they say. Sometimes with a pinch of salt, I accept that, but listen to what they say, because obviously you may decide you want to rent them. Can you afford to rent them out? Can you afford to refinance it? Don't forget, if it's a refinance, you're probably going to have to have it valued at 8.5% yield, not 6.5% anymore, which makes a big difference. You may want to sell some and keep some. So, you know, care homes, loads of them about, especially at auction. Not a bad thing to buy at all, but a lot of work to do, as you can tell. I think a friend of mine's put this question up because they know how much of a challenge I find architects. So it's horses for courses. So depending what type of project you're doing, depends which architect you should be using. I've got an architect who wears a suit and tie, a bit like me. Now, hasn't got a lot of flair, but he's very efficient, on the ball, and ideal for permissive development schemes, PD schemes, things like that. If I want to design a new home, I wouldn't use him. I want someone with flair, with lots of different ideas and so on. So it's horses for courses. So pick an architect for the job in hand. You don't want one who's going to cost you a fortune, come up with all sorts of fancy ideas which you can't afford to do. So you want a realistic, if you're property developing, or you know, in terms of whether you're going to retain it or even sell the units, you want a practical architect, really. If it's your own home, as I said, fill your boots. You know, have them build, do a wacky design, whatever they want to do, win an award. The first thing I ask an architect always is, have you won any awards? And they love to tell you how many awards they've won. And I always say, congratulations, you won't win any awards with me, but you'll be paid on time. Now, when they quote for the job, you always know an architect, you can always knock an architect down a few £1,000 normally, if they're not too busy. Of course, if they're not too busy, you want to know why they're not too busy. So you're going around in circles a little bit. But I always want timescales from them. Timescales, timescales, timescales. First of all, if they're doing a pre-application to the council to see whether, you know, what you can get on there or not, I want to know how quickly that they can get the application in, the pre-app in. I then want them to tell me how quickly they can get the full application in. It may be that you're using a planning consultant to pull the whole application together, and that the architect's only part of that, or it might be a smaller scheme when you probably just, you can just allow the architect to do it. So depending, I want to know timescales, I want to know when it's going to be ready to go in, when it's likely to be heard by the council, and I want them to chase the application up regularly. Now, this is something they don't like doing, but you have to say to them, I want this application chased. I want to know every week to 10 days where it is, what's happening, and when it's likely to be looked at and accepted, or whatever it is. Because one of the trick at the council at the moment is they don't register the application and straight away. You might put the application in, it may not get registered. I've had one recently, it wasn't registered for a month. That's because they're so busy, they've only got 10 to 12 weeks to give you planning. So if they register it too quickly, they haven't got then time to do the work in order to give you planning or refuse it. So they tend to delay the registration. So your architect, planning, whoever it is doing it, needs to be on the case, chasing it as soon as it's gone in to get it registered, because that's when the clock starts ticking. If an architect wants to do building regulation drawings and all sorts of other things apart from planning, don't let them. There's specialists who do those jobs, and they do it far better than the architect will. The architect does drawing. Once they've done the drawing, I thank them for their time. If we want the drawings changed, we will ask them to change the drawings at that time and pay them. Don't let them oversee a project, because they're nice people, but they're not tough enough to oversee a project and deal with builders. You need a building surveyor for that job. Hope it helps. Good luck. Now, I hope these answers have been useful to you. They're the sort of thing, as I said, I put in my seminars. I include some of these things about architects and so on in my seminars. I've got to mention, apparently, my social media, because I don't mention it enough. I'm on YouTube, as you know, because you're watching. I also am on Twitter, where I use that as quite a serious forum to get some professional property industry messages out there that I believe are important. And I've got Instagram as well, as you know. So hopefully some of you can come on my seminars on the 5th to 6th December. But whatever happens, be careful. It's a tricky property market at the moment, and good luck with whatever you do.